So we're going to talk about StepN today. We're going to kind of dive a bit deeper into the community, into the product. I wanted to first start and share a personal anecdote of how I heard about the project. I mean, how many people in here use StepN or have heard of it? Yeah. Okay, so I remember this very clearly. It was about 2 years ago. I was at NFT NYC, and everyone started asking me if I had a referral code. And I had never heard of StepN before. So everyone was saying, hey, do you have a referral code? Hey, do you have a referral code? And I had no idea what it was. And then everyone was walking around, kind of holding their phones, looking at it, power walking the streets of New York in between side events. And it was like the day after that conference, it completely blew up on Twitter, and everyone was talking about StepN. They were showing off their shoes. And it really inspired, I think, this kind of new generation of blank to earn. Move to earn, walk to earn, sleep to earn. There's meditate to earn. All kinds of different blank to earn products now. Can you bring us back to the beginning, the early stages of StepN? Where did you start with the product? Like, what did you want to initially build, and where are we now a few years into it?
Sure. Thanks for sharing that story, Mia. It actually absolutely resonates with our experience. Like, we had to have a person completely dedicated to sharing activation codes. Like, not just from the regular people on Twitter, like our users, but the most prominent investors, like the VIP people. And people are just like being so precious about activation codes. So that's when you know you've hit the PMF. Where did we start? So back in November, December 2021, we were just in test flight. Our two amazing founders, Jan and Jerry, they are very accomplished people in blockchain and space of gaming respectively, and they were toying with the idea and the landscape, just the backdrop of just want to share that thinking was coming on the back of COVID, coming on the back of a bit of loneliness, disjointedness, people not being able to go to gyms. There were Australian bushfires happening, so a bit of climate change. What can we do with blockchain? They were in the space of blockchain. What can we do? And therefore, the idea of combining fitness with blockchain in a way that could incentivize people came about. First, the early name of the app were, in fact, even Find Satoshi, where people could just go find Satoshi in the app. And it gradually evolved to the stage that StepN is today. And the kernel of idea was to make it as simple and as accessible to people as possible. So blockchain brought the uniqueness of business model. NFTs brought the ability to not having to rely on VCs and raise millions of dollars to bring community and basically let people own it. And fitness brought the element of getting people in.
Yeah, it's very cool to kind of witness the evolution firsthand, and that also brings up an interesting point of, I think something that's unique about StepN is that you're not really one thing. You're sort of a wellness app. You're also a Web3 application. You're also sort of a game. You've kind of gamified exercise. So when thinking about the identity of your project, maybe even thinking about different stakeholders that you speak with, how do you define StepN, thinking about those three categories, or maybe there's a fourth that you fit into? How do you kind of define, and what identity do you associate the project with?
Do you want the honest answer or the clever answer?
Maybe both, but let's start with the honest answer.
The honest answer is we don't, right? So we let the community define what it is. Part of that is just how small and how busy we were as a team. So we just launched something, made sure it fit the bill, made sure it hit with the community, and then let community run with it. Like decentralized community at its best form. But yes, now we have had time. We have 2 years into this app, which is like 20 years in a normal business. So initially, it was a combination of fitness lifestyle and speculative finance that people would define StepN as. Over the years, more and more we have lent towards, as well as the community has moved towards, it being a fitness app. At the core of the app lies the element that people go out and move. Earning is by the way. That is an incentive, just like the community is, just like just like being in Web3 spaces. So fitness has become increasingly an important part of why we exist. And that reflects in our community events. That reflects in the fact that without our intervention, without our financial support, there were events that were happening as we speak in LA, Miami, Taipei, Taiwan, Philippines, Melbourne, Sydney, London, Japan, Tokyo, and there's so many countries I've missed out on, right? So length and breadth of it. We had a contest on Twitter where we asked people to post some pictures of where they were using StepN, and I came across countries and regions that I didn't know the names of. And that is the beauty of the app that community built for us. There were products that were built on top of StepN, as does for any ecosystem. I mean, I'm in no way comparing ourselves to Apple or Google, but then their ecosystems are their ecosystem because people want to build on their platform. We, of course, didn't have bandwidth to even track these events on our website back in that day. And there was a product that came about to track these events. So that is the true power of Web3, and that is how we have become comfortable with people letting define StepN. We're really, really good in it not just being a Web3 app, in it not just being a move to earn app. We're very comfortable with it being a fitness app that combines people together in Web3 space.
Yeah, I think that's really well put. And when you're at the forefront of technology, like all of Web3 is, I think it's really cool to see these undefinable kind of products and moments where it's like, you might have started as one thing, it's evolved, but it's also very hard to fit into a box. And it will probably continue to evolve. I'd love to talk a bit more about your community, though, about the StepN community. Right now, obviously, we're at Crossroads. This is a Solana community conference. There's, another Solana conference. There's many Ethereum conferences. So there's a lot of L1 conferences that happen. But you do a lot of events for your product, for your community, for your ecosystem. So how do you think about planning IRL events for the StepN community? How are you engaging people? How are you really getting that face time with your community stakeholders? And are there any, upcoming events you kind of want to tease or plug?
Of course. Once again, the honest answer is there is just so very little that we as a team do for the events, and there is so much more that our community does. Right off the bat, I can see Will here. Will just give us a shout here. He's one of our community members, many of them. I've seen him probably most of the European events. I don't know how you do what you do, but I guess it's the love of the brand and love of the community that pulls him where he goes. There are many people like that. We call them FSL champions who hold events in their respective regions. Over time, we have come to support them in some financial way, very little, very nominal, to be honest. Like in the early days, I remember we weren't even able to send the T-shirts out to them. Like they were just doing it for the love of StepN, and we hugely appreciate that. So over time, we've come to support them in a way that we can. But I cannot overemphasize the importance of IRL events. I know we live and breathe on crypto Twitter, and we live and breathe on this Web3 app. But somehow, the feeling of a warm touch, a face-to-face, smelling the app in the room is just different, right? And in our events, bear in mind, it's not just the crypto bros, sorry, no offense, but it is their spouses, their mom and dads, their babies in push pram, their dogs. It's a wholesome event when we have a running marathon. Talking of which, may I plug, we have a StepN event tomorrow at 4 p.m. So please see you there. We love IRL events, and we love our community to host them. They can check our website on how they can go about organizing them. But I wish I had somebody like Theptala, All Stars, who could just run this for us. But we're probably not there yet.
Yeah. I guess, do you have any advice or kind of like takeaways for folks here that are building products and maybe trying to start invoking IRL communities? Any tips just from the lessons that you've learned throughout the years of doing it?
Actually, I was just standing over there when Ansem and Theptala and they were talking, and it's funny because they were saying network, talk to people, network, and I completely agree, but it's very hard for me as a person. So if there's anybody like myself out there in the crowd, don't lose hope, don't lose heart, right? Networking is not all that you need. There's so many other ways, because guess what? One of you guys is gonna build the next StepN. One of you guys is gonna build the next Tensor, or the next super team, or the next bigger app than StepN that is going to onboard tens of billions of dollars, people, and earn tens of billions of dollars. That is the beauty of Web3 at this stage. In that sense, we're not solely reliant on VC model. In that sense, we're not solely reliant on cost-heavy access to users. And therefore, my perspective is not that of a content creator or a networker. My perspective comes from a hardcore builder. Our team, till date, through the abyss of the bear market, has spent 18-hour workdays. Yes, and I'm not kidding. I'm very proud of that. If you have it to work hard in you, Web3 space rewards. That's the best part. Honestly, I've worked in Web2 and Web3 at all levels, and it is very hard to build startups and apps, and successfully so, and very hard in Web2. But guess what? Web3 just makes it that little bit easier. So build, 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 work hard, and that's probably the advice that I would leave with.
So I guess touching on that, we're kind of just in this bear market where, token prices were down, and I saw a lot of people I knew lose that motivation. I had friends pivot to AI and then come back to crypto when the chart started going up again. And for an app like StepN, where the incentive for users is the token rewards, what was that phase of StepN like? Kind of being in the bear. How did that affect the product? Did you make any changes to the product? What were the conversations with the community like then? And has that changed? Do you feel like you're out of that now? Would love your take on that.
Again, honest answer, very hard. Very hard. Because the bottom line is that any moment you have made anything remotely speculative and financial, you've created an economy. Any economy is inflationary. Inflation erodes value. That erosion just takes time. For good economies, meaning for good countries, it could take hundreds of years, US being an example. For bad economies, there are many countries I wouldn't take the name of, but we see them in super deflationary phase, and they could take 10 years. For AAA games, it takes 3 years. Sometimes for crypto games, it takes 3 months. StepN has lasted for 2 years and is going to last another 10 years. And that is what we're working towards. We are working towards making that economy, making that ecosystem as robust and as stable as possible. Our company is called FSL. StepN is one of our products. So we launched the front-end games. So StepN is one of them. We launched it on Solana and then also expanded on other chains, which I shall not speak of. Solana event, wink, wink. But then we launched another game called Gas Hero on Polygon, and that broke Polygon. We sort of did like $100 million in a month of trading. Then we launched DEX to support the swaps. It is called Door. Again, it was #1 on Solana. We launched a marketplace called More to support NFT trades. It's multi-chain again. Then we launched recently a wallet / unifying ID as a login to Web3. Our vision is that at some point, just how you use login with Google, login with Facebook, you will have a login with X in Web3, and we're trying to build towards that, as are many other people, but that's a product builder's version towards it. So long and short of your question is, are bear markets hard? Super hard. But if you're here to stay, if you just zoom out just one tiny little bit, I'm not even saying 4-year cycle or super cycle or this and that. Over time, the value accrues and compounds. So then it doesn't matter whether the token is at 30 cents or a 50 cent, because at some point it is at $1 or $2. And at some point, all of us are going to make it, right? That's not a trope. That's a reality. And that's how it has been for the last 15 years. One thing I do say is, though, that no, we're not early. We're not early. For any accelerationary tech, 15 years is a hell lot of time, and we're over that mark. What we're early is in terms of use cases and adoption. we've had stable coins as a use case. I mean, people do keep saying, they love saying that crypto hasn't had a cracker use case. Guess what? In last year alone, we had $7 trillion worth of settlements in stable coins. It's way more than MasterCard and Amex or any PayPal. They do 1.4 trillion for context. Guess how much does movie industry make in a year? 26 billion. How much does music industry make in a year? 26.2 billion. Guess how much gaming makes in a year? 184 billion. And we're part of that Web3 gaming industry. So sky's the limit. Potential is infinite. If we just work hard, believe, and stay, we're all going to make it.
I love it. I think that might be the first wag me on stage today also, by the way. I don't know if I've heard one yet, but I love the sentiment. And thinking about these other industries, StepN recently did a partnership. I'm not sure if that's the word you used, with Adidas. Is anyone wearing Adidas kicks today? Yeah, okay. So can you tell us a bit about what you did with Adidas, how you maybe even started the conversations with them, how you approached them? Were they thinking about Web3 on their own? And then maybe speak on some other partnerships similar to Adidas that you've done in the past.
Of course. Partnerships are a good way for win-wins, right? I make a lot of deals for a living, and I think win-win is the best way in relationships, professional, personal. Partnerships give, in Web3, community crossovers, and in Web2, brand crossovers, right? So with and at StepN, we always only aim to do best of partnership. Like my inbox is, coming back to the point of networking, like I get so much, I really regret it. I'm not able to respond to the DMs or tweets and this and that. So, which is why I again insist, once you build, networking automatically happens, right? Sometimes it's not the other way. So we've partnered with people like Steve Aoki in Web2. We're partnered with ASICS. It was one of the runaway success. We had about 2 mil for just 1,000 sneakers. Adidas is a step towards the same. The partnership is a year long. It is going to be one of the most exemplary partnerships that will happen in Web3. We just launched 1,000 sneakers, and about, yes, I'm going to quote this figure, $30 million were staked for it. So 100 million GMT. We just broke all records. The thing is, we just like to stay on the radar. Our community is just very close-knit, tight. Somehow, maybe that's not such a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. We just keep building. We have a few other exciting pieces of news coming up. I don't believe in the concept of alpha, so maybe nothing is going on this stage. That's a sad part. But if you keep on our Twitter, so StepN, at StepN Official, and FSL, you will soon learn about it. The idea behind all these partnerships is adoption.
Yeah.
And we look at adoption in 3 ways. The first is product, second is partnership, third is events. In product, we are probably, and I just say probably because I don't want to sound too immodest, probably the only app that has partnered with Apple Pay for in-app payments. That's part of the adoption. We take the hit on business with 30% tax. I know it's such a controversial topic, so we won't go into the details. But the idea behind partnering with Apple Pay is so that people don't have to get into wallet, onboarding, this, that, seed phrases. We just double-click, you purchase the NFTs. So those are kind of the product integration. Wallet, FSL ID that we've launched is another effort in simplifying onboarding, in simplifying that login into the Web3. Second is, like I said, partnerships, whether it's DeGods, whether it's Steve Aoki. We try and partner with the best people for StepN, for more, which is our NFT marketplace. And then third is events that we have spoken about, which is, again, adoption at scale. For people who are crypto native, but more importantly, also people who are non-crypto native. And we're at that stage where a lot of this onboarding actually happens in real time. I've seen so many people helping people, their mom's dad, purchase the first NFT, setting up their first wallet. Yeah, I mean, sadly, we are at that space, but when we get lemons, we make lemonade, right? So these events help in that kind of adoption. So that's the thinking behind.
And when working with some of these brands like Adidas, do you feel like the sentiment for what blockchain, what crypto can do for them has sort of recovered? Or is there still, some questions left for them?
Oh my God, that's such a great question. I think it's cyclical pretty much with the token prices, right? So sad as it is, our utility or our use case goes up when the token price goes up, and equally the other way. Most companies, most big ones, at least who think future, have set up a Web3 division. So that's heartening. Now comes what is their budget allocation for this Web3 division / what is their scope. That does toggle with market sentiment. Regulatory uncertainty is not making it any easier. It's not the regulation. Regulation is mother of adoption, right? You give us a regulation, we'll all comply with it. That's a problem. I mean, that's what Uniswap and Coinbase are asking, right? Like, they have done everything by the book, but you tell us what to do, right? The problem comes when there is uncertainty, when even after doing by the book, you get served a world's notice. So that doesn't help, because now that scares companies away. They don't want to get into it. Their P&L is billions of dollars. So for this extra 100,000K, they don't want that kind of headache. So I think that's beyond our hands. There are some people who are doing an exemplary job as far as moving the space forward in terms of regulatory compliance, in terms of moving, lobbying for these rules. Hats off to them. We try and help when we can. What we can do is build relationships with these brands and show what crypto and crypto communities are capable of, what these users are capable of. I mean, our partners have been just blown away with the kind of support that has come from our community. You were there, we launched the ASIC sneakers, the physical sneakers, at Breakpoint itself, at Solana Breakpoint last year. They sold out in minutes. Minutes, and the minds were just blown, like this could happen? The fulfillment was not ready for this. And we'd repeat this and more with Adidas.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to see stuff like the Adidas and StepN partnership. I think for the community, even if you're not a stakeholder in something like StepN, even if you're not a user, it's a powerful sentiment to see that and know that our industry is there, and more partnerships like that will likely emerge. And also speaking to a lot of attendees here today, a lot of students, people that are in high school, this generation is going to grow up, and even if they're not working for Web3 projects, like you mentioned, many of these big brands already have Web3 divisions. There's just going to be a lot of convergence there. I think many people here who will, potentially go off to college and go into the working world will find themselves working in Web3 in some way, even if you're working at a Web2 company.
Firstly, you're making me feel very, very old, these people. But secondly, couldn't agree more, right? So just after how successful our first phase of Adidas partnership was, we're already talking about how to make things bigger. First brands are like a little bit nervous, a little bit like what's going to happen. And then they see success, and then they see the scale, and then they see the possibilities, right? A completely new audience, new segment, new category unlocked for them, which pushes their agenda forward, right? All we're trying to do is make people run, walk, jog outdoors. That's pretty much what Adidas wants to do. And together, we're trying to make that happen. So once brands come to that realization that financially, marketing-wise, user-wise, positioning-wise, all we're trying to do is help. And we can help so much more than the other brands, if I may say.
Yeah, I think that's a very positive kind of core mission, obviously, especially for the chronically online, which is likely everyone in this room. I know myself included. We have just a couple minutes left, about 3 minutes. So I would love to get big picture, 5-10 years, long-term vision. What do you want to do with StepN? Where are you going? What are the hopes and dreams? What do you see for the next 5 to 10 years?
Wow, very existential question. Firstly, we're going to be here, right? When we launched StepN, I still remember 2021 December test flight, 2022 early. People gave us months, right? Oh, this project, once again, a hotbed, will go away. Guess what? We're still here. A thriving community, thanks to you all. Multi-chain, thanks. Infrastructure, technology, world-class. And we've got partners, world-class. We've got products, product partnerships, and product things happening like Apple Play, again, moving the industry forward, first in the industry. So whether it's been Apple Pay, whether it's been Adidas, whether it's launching our own DEX or marketplace or wallet ID service or new games, it feels like we have launched 10 products in 2 years, right? So, because it is. So the vision pretty much stays the same. We're a very delivery, action, execution-oriented firm. We will continue to deliver value to our users and to the space. We will continue to work hard, and we will continue to experiment. Yes, we may not get we may not get things right all the time, but as long as we reduce the probability of getting things wrong, we're on the right track. And that's where we are. Our North Star is adoption, bring as many people as possible to Web3. And if that's not going to happen, we will take Web3 to Web2. And we will make that happen. So, yeah, we're here to stay.
Amazing. So I'm going to take a note out of Chris's book, who is moderating the last panel, and he kind of ended with this question of how long will it take to reach 1 billion users? And I think his answer was 6 months, and someone else on the other end, it was 7 years, so that was sort of the spectrum. What's your out-of-pocket prediction for this question?
I think the question will have to change a little.
Yeah.
The Web3 that we currently know sits pretty much at the fringe of tech. I don't want to get too geeky here, but the way technology will evolve will be a seamless boundary. There will be no Web 2, Web 3 kind of, or Web 4 kind of a thing. Like today, we don't sit and marvel, oh, wow, what a fascinating technology electricity is, right? But everything runs on electricity. This call, this room, our health infrastructure, governments, everything. So technology becomes mainstream once it fades away, once it goes in the backdrop. And that moment for blockchains is coming, right? When you log into Base or Binance these days with passkeys, biometrics, you don't have to save your seed phrase. Guess what? Everything is happening, right? The chain is integrated with the wallet, with the apps, and once the seamlessness comes in, once the infrastructure is ready, you will know the adoption has happened before you know it. And that ChatGPT moment for us is coming.
All right, well, thank you so much, Shiti. That is our time. And thank you to everyone here. But yeah, thanks for joining us for this session. And I think maybe we'll hang over there if there's any questions, if any community members want to come and pick your brain a bit more. But thank you so much for your time. And it was a great chatting with you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.